My friend Kat Miller is on the phone with me, and she is a really big, good friend of everybody who is working on themselves and has some spiritual base to them. Because we are physical being spiritual. Is that what it is? Is that how that saying goes? We're spiritual being physical?
Spiritual beings in a physical body.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, you're a passionate young lady for the spirit, right? Mm-hmm. Spiritually fit. You do push-ups mentally.
I do spiritual push-ups all the time.
Now, Kat Miller is very famous in my world, and my world has been surrounded by three items. You know, the spirit and the body, and somewhere along the line, the mind, which is we're working on that one. It's starting to leave me now. I was telling Kat a story about how I met Wayne Dyer. This is the anniversary of his death, of his passing. Because a guy like Wayne never dies. But you know, Wayne Dyer and I met when I was at the Plaza Hotel in New York, and Claude Hall, who was the editor of Billboard magazine, decided he would get all the disc jockeys in the world together and all the radio people he could gather who cared about disc jockeys and music and radio and records. And they didn't have radio and records yet. That was it. Billboard was the magazine. And he decided to have a convention. So he had the Billboard convention at the Plaza Hotel, which is a very expensive hotel in New York, which is now, well, you know what it is now. It's co-ops mostly. Yeah. But it's the one that has the horse carriage in the front and the fountains. You know, it's a rich man's paradise. Trump owned it for one time, for a while, which I could tell you a story about that too. But let's not tell too many stories. So Claude Hall had decided to have the convention there, and he has as his first two speakers for the week. There was Claude Hall had asked Wayne Dyer, because he had a book which was just starting to become popular in the metaphysical world, and he was a good talker.
Right.
And he was from a good market. He was from Detroit at the time. And he also had Geraldo Rivera, who was known for acting out on television, chasing a judge with a camera to nab the guy who was telling lies or something. You know, I mean, he was an aggressive reporter. So we had both those guys as our keynote speakers separately. Now, Wayne and I, we bonded after I remembered him in the back of my head. And years later, I got friendly with a guy named Jim Farah, who was for 22 years with King World. And Jimmy and I had a lot of experience together with things that we wanted to do something and not have to rely on our corporate jobs. So we wanted to have something on our own. So Jim used to give me his leftovers, and he gave me an attaché case from one of the conventions. I go to all the King World conventions. And I opened the attaché case. He was tired of it because he was not going to need it anymore. But he left in it all of his writings, which were clippings about metaphysical, clippings about everything that we should be doing with our souls and the direction we should go in out of kindness and out of love. And I saw all these notes, and I called Jim. I said, Jim, you left all of your money in the attaché case. You know, this is your whole world. And he said, oh, I have an idea. I want to do a show with someone like Mr. Food. I said, Mr. Food, what are you going to do with him? What does he have to do with spirituality? He shows you how to make a hot dog on a grill. Mr. Food had a syndicated show that was on all the local stations via tape and by satellite. Right. And he would cook during the newscast. He'd show you a 2-minute exposition. He would show you how to do something every day. And we thought to do that, and the person that Jimmy thought would be best suited would be Wayne Dyer. And I said, yeah, I saw him at the Billboard thing, and he'd be great. So we approached Wayne. He was playing tennis. And as it turns out, Wayne was going to his office in Fort Lauderdale, hanging the shingle that he had and taking it home because he was closing the office. So I was, in fact, his last patient.
Now, Joey, was that the reason he closed his office?
Of course. And we had enough. Like right now, this is a long setup, but I got to. You asked me the question off the air. So Wayne and I got to be very good friends throughout history, and he liked hanging around my show on the radio. And I've spent I would go to Maui twice a year. And I spent so much time with him, yeah. Oh, so I had a long experience with Wayne, and I helped him with his new books, and he helped me through my divorce with helping me to navigate so that the kids would not be hurt. That was his focus with me. Just to tell you what that was about. He was a
That's
wonderful guy,
beautiful.
good friend. All right, now knowing that, and today's the anniversary of Wayne's passing.
Yes.
So whenever you're watching this, it's Mother's Day in real time. But you may watch this later at another time, another year, and then it's going to sound like an old movie because it will be. However, right now it's fresh, and I decided to ask Cindy to be my guest today.
Oh, wait, no, Cat.
Oh, did I say Cindy Powers? Oh, did I get Cat Miller? Wait a minute. Oh, I got the wrong person. Excuse me. You'll have to go now.
Or I could change my name.
I know who you are.
Kind of a fun name.
I think I know your name. So anyway, Kat is here, and we decided to have some fun and talk about everything. But Wayne Dyer, since he's passing, I wanted to set it up, and now I want you to tell everybody your experience with Wayne Dyer.
Oh, I've always loved Wayne since his first book, Your Erroneous Zones, and Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. Everything, and just you can tell, by the way he speaks that his heart is in it. I mean, it's just so clear. And I had a magazine called Holistic Health Journal that I launched back in the early 90s as just a little newsletter to help educate people on integrative medicine, alternative medicine. And we ended up being in every major book chain in the US and Canada. It exploded. And I moved out to Los Angeles at the time. At the time, I was engaged to a film producer who did films like What Dreams May Come Somewhere in Time. So he was on that path as well. And we merged our tribes. We did a TV series for the Wisdom Network called Passionate Living, which became my passion to inspire people to live their passions. Because the one common denominator I saw in everybody that was healthy at that time was, it's great to take vitamins, eat healthy, work out, but it was when people were passionate about something and they were using that passion to make a difference in the world. Those were the most vibrant people I was meeting. And Wayne, God, you talk about somebody that falls into that category. He just was living his passion and using it to make a difference in the world, just like you, Joey. And so I was in Buffalo one time visiting family here, and I heard that Amma was in Toronto, and I love Amma. She's the hugging saint, and every time I was...
And she's very wide, too.
Yes, I should give you a really good hug.
You get a hug. You think
you get a hug.
You think you're getting a Michelin tire hug.
Exactly. It's wonderful. And so in Los Angeles, you would wait days. There'd be thousands of people coming in and out. And I thought, well, I'll go see her in Toronto. Maybe there won't be as many people there. So I went up with a friend, and I knew Wayne Dyer was going to be in Toronto as well. And I thought, God, I've met everybody in this field, in the consciousness industry, in the health realm, but I had never met Wayne yet. I'd never interviewed him. And I walked into the hotel. My friend was parking the car, and who walks in but Wayne Dyer?
Oh boy!
And I just smiled, shook my head, and thought, perfect. I manifested that, and which Wayne talks about. And so I just gave a little wave. He was with his family, and he calls me over. And I told him who I was, my magazine, and our mutual friends. And he gave me a big hug, and his family all hugged me. And we had the greatest talk. And then I went in to do the hug with Amma. Everybody, waits and gets their hug. And he sat next to her and hugged everybody as well. It was beautiful. They're good friends, I guess. And afterwards, we had a great talk again, and he invited me to come to Maui to hang with him and his family for a while and, interview him, talk with him, and hang out with him for a week. And I didn't do it right away. I thought, well, there's always next year. It's a busy schedule. And shortly after that, Wayne passed. And so I missed that opportunity. And it was a lesson to me to always, in the moment, just do it. Don't wait, which is always what I tell people and sometimes forget to listen to myself. But I was just so touched by what a heartfelt, beautiful spirit he was. I was so happy to meet him and to find out that that's who Wayne really was, because oftentimes, and I'm sure you've had this experience, Joey, you'll meet someone, you've been looking forward to meeting them, and then in real life, you're like, ooh, that was that person? They don't necessarily walk their talk, or what a jerk. But Wayne, oh my God, just beautiful. Totally embracing. And I've just always read his books, listened to his work. He's been such an inspiration to me. He still is to this day. Like you said, someone like that, when they never leave, even when they pass away. He's still,
he passed through.
He passed through. That's what it feels like, doesn't it? It feels like he passed through.
And believing is seeing is my favorite saying of his. Believing is seeing.
Yes.
Not seeing is believing. He was a good talker, and he and Marianne Williamson teamed up for a while. They went on tour. They'd go to the Universalist Church, I think it was.
Yes.
They made a lot of money, so he didn't want to do the syndication anymore. He says, "Oh, that's a lot of work, and I want to travel, and I got Marianne Williamson. We're going to go out and we're going to get $10,000 each time we talk." And I thought, "Oh, okay." So he never did it, but he said, "I got a guy for you." I said, "Oh, here we go." He says, "He'd be perfect," and he said, "He's a professor at a school in Boston." And I said, "Really? Who's that?" He says, "Well, his name is Deepak Chopra." And I said, "I take Bikram yoga. I don't think I want to hear another Indian name, you know." So he said, "Yeah, you know," and so I got friendly with Deepak, and also
he got kind of popular, not real big.
Well, Gautam is did you meet him? His son Gautam. You know.
I've been to his house a couple times, and I met his wife. I don't know that I've met his son. I don't think I've ever met him.
Yeah,
well, I was going to say that his daughter.
He was more. Well, you know, it's very strange. The reason I'm bringing it up is that Wayne had a daughter named Sky, and she was very talented, and he would have her on the tour, and then he picked her out, you know, and Deepak had a son, got him. He picked him out. Dr. Phil picked his son out. The only one that didn't pick anybody out was Oprah. Didn't have anyone, you know. She had Gayle King, but you know, there's nobody really. They all have favorites. That's what I'm getting at. They have a favorite, one that's just like them, right? I got a daughter who's just like me, and I don't ever want to see her again.
The mirror.
That's the end. Broke the chain. No more. Oh, I got to show you the thing here too. This is you know, I'm in Miami. Fort Lauderdale, and I love the Miami heat. And you're in Buffalo, right?
Oh my God! I moved back here 2 years ago to raise my niece.
So tell us why.
Oh, I love California. I had gone from Los Angeles up to Santa Barbara and settled there, and talk about heaven on earth. And about 2 years ago, I came back to Buffalo to raise my niece and take care of my mom. And my younger son moved back too to help me out with that. My niece is 13 now. She is so precious. And I told her she is.
Wait, your son, your favorite son? You got one too?
Well, I love them both. He'd kill me though. He'll go, no, you have to say I'm your favorite. He just made me a lot of money this past week in the stock market. So right now, he's at the top.
How can you make money? We're in a depression right now.
He picked 2 stocks that were not affected by what's going on, and they went up.
What, meat and potatoes?
I know.
I mean, what are we not affected by?
So they went up, and I was like, oh my gosh, Eli, how did you do that?
Well, you know, Warren Buffett took all his money out of the airlines, you know, $3 billion. And he moved it to T-bills so far. So I was trying to get him to shift over to my pod site. I figure, you know, if I get a little muscle there, maybe everybody will start, you know, they'll worship me. I want to be worshiped, don't you?
Oh, Joey, I already worship you.
Oh, well, okay. Then I got my wish. But they're not lighting candles anymore. They're not sending flowers.
I am lighting candles for you.
Shucks. No, you know, I want to talk some more, Kat, about your life now. So you started this publication, and it was Did it become a newsletter? A news?
I grew up in my mom's jewelry, health food, ESP store in the 70s. So we could cover your spiritual, emotional, and physical needs in one quick stop. And a lot of it resonated with me, but a lot of it felt fly by night. And so when it was time for college, it was like, give me mainstream, and I went for a mainstream biology degree. And I found out that really those two worlds were saying the same thing, just in two different languages. I mean, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, and it has the ability to be transferred, explains everything that I grew up with in my mom's store. And so I got to a point where I had my first son, and I was exploring more in the alternative health world, integrative health. And so I wanted to find out. So I got all these speakers to come in and started doing workshops. And then I started a little newsletter because everybody was asking me where they could get more information in written form. And everything was either someone's opinion stated as fact, or it was too scientific for the layperson to understand. So I started this little newsletter, not knowing what I was getting into.
Yeah.
And, by the end of the ride with that little newsletter, about 3 years in, we were in every major book chain in the US and Canada. Deepak and all those guys were on my board. I was living in Los Angeles. We had started a TV series for the Wisdom Network called Passionate Living. It was just this wild ride. It was like having a tiger by the tail. I was afraid to let go, that it might turn around and bite me. But
Speaking of that, that Siegfried and Roy died. You know that, right?
Oh,
yesterday?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And he was very spiritual. That's why I brought it up just now. When you said tiger by the tail, he was much more spiritual than he was about flashy jewelry like Liberace. Not that there's anything wrong with Lee, but I'm just saying that, he was a glitzy, and they put on great shows, but he was a spiritual guy. Very, very, he believed in charity and kindness and love. He was a softie. Did you know that?
I didn't, but I always
and the tiger bit him, of all people,
Oh, no.
Tiger by the tail.
Tiger by the tail. You never know when it's going to turn around and bite you. But he was so good about it when that happened even. And he said it wasn't the tiger's fault. And remember, it's just like, I was so moved how he handled that. So it's great to hear you say that.
Well, he had a great sense of humor. I told him that he should be the star of Pussy Galore. And he just stared at me for a good 30 seconds.
And then little Richard passed today, I saw.
Yeah, that was today. And he was at my induction when I got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Was he?
Yeah, and I put the lipstick on over my lip.
That's
great. He
great.
didn't think that was funny either.
I love that.
He was another spiritual guy. He became a Seventh-day Adventist, which they don't smoke, they don't drink, and he was everything. He says, I'm not telling a story.
Right.
Little Richard says, "Shut up!"
Yeah. Oh, I love him.
But he was an outrageous performer, and in those times, a little more than now, right. People who were they had a separation of performance from the reality. See, they're now a little bit too accessible and too real.
Right.
Back then, you couldn't get near Katharine Hepburn, for instance, to use an old name, but you couldn't get near any of the stars they were shining. If you met one, you'd be in awe because they had a separation. It was image.
Right.
The studios had PR, and if you violated any of that, they would never tell anybody about your scandal. I mean, Oscar Levant was a druggie, so was Judy Garland.
Yeah, they shoved it all under the carpet. They paid people off.
No reality.
No.
And the reality is that we're all sinners and trying to do it right. I mean, I'm right out of the box.
I love that about you. I love the outlaw side of you. I have that too. Yeah.
And so I don't know if we can talk the story too much about without a telltale. I was just telling my friend Jim Boldebook in Maine. I said he wanted me to do a book. He's been on me about it. I said, I'm not going to do another book because I don't want to do a telltale. There's too much gossip.
Right.
There's too much fault finding. There's too much of the favorite saying is if you point a finger at someone else, there's three pointed back at yourself.
Exactly.
So you don't want to be accusing. And my temperament I don't know how I've lived this long. I should have been shot a long time ago. Really, I'm serious. I mean, I should have died from the drugs, by the book. Maybe the alcohol, maybe the ridiculous investments that I made. You know, I had a tall men's shop in Korea. And, you know, you should never do that.
There you go. You should never invest in that.
And the religious store I had in Afghanistan. No good.
No good.
Yeah. No good. So, you know, when you walk through and you do everything wrong, or, you know, many things wrong, there's a lot of people who help you unwrong yourself. And that's back to Wayne again, and yourself too. I mean, you know, that's what you guys are doing.
Well, it's interesting because, you know, my son, my older son, you met him when you were here in Buffalo, the tall one that set up.
He's not the investment counselor, is he?
No, that's the one that's in New York. that's actually, you guys traded numbers. He's the one that lives in New York.
I know. He could never be my spiritual or financial advisor because he's too much like me.
You see, Danny, when he was a little boy, I swear he was like a little bodhisattva. And he told me once, he said, you know, Mom, he said, the reason you've had such a challenging life is how could we help humans to help themselves if we don't know what it's like to be human? And I'm like, where did that come from? Yeah. And then he one time told me love is like the one pure energy that can save humans from themselves. So he was always throwing out these zingers as a 3 or 4 year old. I'm like, who are you? Who's in that body? You know, but and then he hit his teens and all that stuff. But I thought about that oftentimes. And I think sometimes the people that go through major challenges early on in their life and take that path less traveled. I was in the music industry right out of college. That was quite a journey. And probably same as you, I don't know how I'm still here oftentimes. But it gives you such an ability to have compassion for people and to not judge, because what is it? Let he who has not sinned cast the first stone. And I'm not going to be at the front of that line. So it gives you that ability to have empathy and feel. And even Wayne himself, Wayne talks about his story. I mean, you know, how he had troubles with alcohol and drugs and
divorce.
And divorce, and came back from all of it.
Yeah. And you know, he took good care of Ram Dass. Ram Dass was a made-up name, but a Jewish guy from Long Island who decided that he would dignify his using of the psychedelic drugs.
Right. I met him a few times before he had his stroke. Yeah. Well, I'm getting ready to shoot a show in a week and a half. I'm going to start doing a Zoom show. So I had already set up the lights in my office. I've got like professional lights in here.
Oh, that's great. So where do we see it and what's it called?
It's going to be called Passionate Living. Okay. It's just the name of my website is passionateliving.com.
And when does it start and how? How do we watch it now? You're going to watch it on Zoom, but you got to know how to get there.
Well, you can watch it on YouTube. And my website's passionateliving.com. So I'm airing it, as you know, from our friends at WBBZ. We're going to air it on television.
That's a television. That's a cable television station in Buffalo.
Yes,
and over the air too. Over the air also.
Over the air, and then we're going to post it on YouTube, on BBZ's YouTube, and then on Passionate Living's YouTube after as well. So I'll have it on the website, though. I'll be posting the show on the website.
Well, you know, Phil Arno is one of my best friends through the years because we journeyed together.
Yep.
And he shot that first video of Bikram. The Bikram yoga. That's Phil Arno.
You two are like brothers. It's fun to see. Dysfunctional family.
What can I tell you? So Phil had a desire. He lived on a houseboat, and he would come to meetings barefoot. You know.
Really?
He was a nature boy. Yeah. Did you know that about him?
I didn't know that about him.
You don't sit in front of the guy who's running the biggest television network in the world and have bare feet. Only Phil. Now he owns his own TV station, and he insists on wearing a tie to a meeting. You know,
right?
I mean, he's conservative, I think now.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, he went to that side. He's a little more
he went to the suit, Lipton's cup of suit.
Exactly.
That's what I call those guys. So he's a good friend, but you know, you're working with him, right?
I am. I'm
Yeah.
helping him run the TV station back here, and so
Are you going to do a show on there? Why don't you?
that's the show, Passionate Living. I'm going to do the show on the station, and then we'll air it for anybody that's not in Buffalo that can't watch it on WBBC. It'll be on the YouTube channels and on my website.
We've lost so many people. Amaz still alive? Is she still with us?
Who?
Amaz? She's still with us? The Hugging Saint.
Oh, Amma. Yeah.
Yeah.
She, when this whole thing happened in India, she closed the ashram. So all of the people that were in there could stay, but nobody could come in or out. So she was smart. Like right away, she closed it down, and they didn't have any problems. So they were blessed, but she was very bright in the way she handled it. The minute it came out in China, she closed the ashram.
Well, yeah. I mean, how can you hug with social distancing? What do you do this by vicariously?
Exactly. Well, she at the ashram, she does hug, but not as much. I think that's more for her tours. But at the ashram, she'll teach, or people will actually live there. She's got this big. I have a lot of friends from the States who go and stay there in India once a year.
Well, I saw her in L.A. I waited in line above the line.
Century City
below
there,
the line,
yeah.
however they call it.
City. What is the hotel there that she goes to?
The hotel, and it was near the airport, as I recall.
Yeah.
And I parked my car, and I wondered why all the cars were there. It was an off day. And then I saw the big line in the lobby, and I was privileged enough to be able to be pushed ahead because I had a gun. I had two guns. And no, I was brought by a friend, and I was introduced to her, and she gave me a long, long hug. And I said to my friend who brought me, I said, I don't see everybody else is moving along. Why did I get that? He says, you need all the help you can get. She saw that.
she said she had to hug some extra stuff out of you.
Touching my face. She shouldn't be doing that, I guess, now, We're not supposed.
My face. I figure as long as your hands are clean, you're fine, right?
What do you think about all of this stuff with the virus?
I'm taking precautions because my mom's 88 and I live with her. But I don't know. Something in my gut says something doesn't make sense with all of it. It just, I just don't know what to think about it. But something just doesn't quite feel right. What do you think?
Well, I don't. Well, my thoughts are really that we are spoiled.
Mm-hmm.
It's natural because we're used to having certain things, and we have been an advanced culture with richness, and I think people are not, me included, we are not handling it well because I want what I want when I want it. You know the saying.
Oh, exactly.
And so being spoiled and having always a fallback. This is a country of fallbacks. If you fail, you get free food. That's not the case all over. Not the case all over. We're very generous and we're very blessed.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is that I think we're more interested in living in the economy than we are in life itself, which is a strange assessment. I don't mean it to be a punishing one, but
right. Well, I think you're right. And I think right now, the silver lining in all of this, people are home with their family. They're cooking.
Well, we have a chance to do it over again now.
Yeah, we're not just in our workaholic modes and distracting ourselves from life. We have to go within, and it's an introspective time for people. And I really think a lot of good is coming out of this. I mean, you see pictures of cities with clear skies and the water running clear again. And it's amazing on the upside what's coming from this.
Well, I was telling Frank, my friend Frank, who's doing all these platforms for me, he's really making me shine again because he wanted to. And it's a gift. It's a gift to have someone like that. So the other day, I don't want to do certain things. I said, I'm still an asshole. And he says, well, at least you're honest about it. There's not going to be any pandering. Nobody's going to tell you, oh, yeah, no, you're not an asshole. Why do we not like that language? Why is that so offensive?
I don't know. When my sons were little, I told them they're just words. If we don't give power away to them, they don't mean anything. They're just words. And it's hard for me because I'll go to California after I've been in Buffalo for a few months, and out there, it's very different. People don't drop the F-bomb as much. They don't, and I'll be like in my Buffalo mode where I'm like, what the? And my friends will look like, did you just say? And then I'll be there for a few months and I'll come back to Buffalo and I'll be like, well, it's just not the vibe I'm talking about. Like the energy doesn't feel right. And my friends are like, so that's and so it's like two different worlds, and I have to remember where I am.
Well, why can we talk that way on cable and not over the air? What's the difference? You're paying for cable. We pay to have someone swear at us.
Well, there you go. It's a profession, right?
So
I think people get paid for that.
You're going to start this passionate broadcast. It's going to be on television, on syndication, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're going to put it on the internet, of course.
Right.
And it'll be available to the public. Is there an accompanying newsletter or anything else with it, or you're not there yet?
There's a website, passionateliving.com.
Okay.
And we will have a newsletter for anyone that signs up. But it's going to be to inspire people. Passionate living is all about doing what you came here to do, doing what you love, and stepping through your fears to do it. And the people that are doing that and making a difference. And then we're also going to inspire people to, for healthy lifestyle, for, just to tap into those passions that people are living.
Well, what were you drinking? What was that healthy lifestyle you had there? What is that?
There is the best little shop around the corner from me. I live in the Elmwood Village, and they make these fresh pressed juices. And this is ginger, peach, fresh apple, golden beet. There's like all these cool things in here, and it's delicious.
I've been there with you. That's the home of the $5 coffee.
Yeah. No. Ashker's, they have like $1 coffee.
No, I know. I'm being funny. But I was there.
We went there for breakfast. We did. We went there for breakfast.
And they run a nice place. What's it called again?
Ashker's. Everybody hugs. I know everyone there, so they give you big hugs when you walk in the door. Not now. Now I see them. They bring the food out because they do the curbside, and I give them air hugs. I'm like, I wish I could hug you.
Well,
I dreamed, Joey, before this all happened. I had this. I was out at Lake Shrine. Have you been there in the Palisades?
No.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's Paramahansa Yogananda's place in Pacific Palisades. And they have a meditation center there. And I was there a few years ago, and I had this thought with my love of young people to get a bus and to get all my celebrity friends to hop on and off. So you'd be on the bus, Joey, and to get a group of core young people on it and to go from town to town and to just inspire the heck out of young people, to have a performance bus, to not to talk at them, but to talk with them and to just inspire them, get off the opiates, don't kill yourself, stop playing the video game, engage in life, and just give them a whole lot of love. And I was going to hug all of them. And now of course, that's on hold because there's no way.
Well, the other one is Krippala, which is up in the Berkshires. You've heard of that, right?
Oh, yeah, I've been there. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I did all my exercise. I used to call it Cripple You. It was an old Jesuit monastery,
Was it? Before they turned it into...
the spiritual-based places, they still have spirits around them, I think. I mean, I like to think that.
I think so, too.
Yeah. And, Jerry Jampolsky, he lives on a houseboat in San Francisco.
Man. Beautiful.
And his wife, Diane, they're good friends. And I stayed with them. I stay on the boat, sometimes. They've had me over there. Wow. And we have a little meeting. He gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he has someone come over the house, these days. And he joins in, and we sit down and we read a passage, and then we meditate a little bit and then talk about it. Oh. And then have a lovely breakfast. It's very nice. I mean, this is a good way to live and that's not just because of rich people. It's not, I mean, I'm not saying he's rich. I'm just saying that you don't have to have wealth is in the way we treat other people.
Right.
And it's not in the bank.
Yes.
I mentioned Warren Buffett this is why I don't want to do a telltale book. I mean, the guy doesn't talk to his wife. He's got $300 billion and an old watch that he claims that he's had since the first day, and he's very frugal, but he doesn't have a relationship with his wife. She's in it's in the documentary, you know. She's in San Francisco running around while he's in Omaha. So, I mean, see, a relationship is based on trust, based on truth. And that's why we don't like this president right now, for those of us who are on that path. Because it's you know, you have to be honest all the time now. It's not transparency, it's decency.
It's decency, you're right.
Yeah.
Decency.
And I'm not saying that I don't like him personally. I want to tell you a story about him. Can I do that?
Yeah.
He owned the Plaza Hotel, which I mentioned earlier with the Billboard magazine, where we had our first convention. Right. And the Oak Room was very famous, and it's, you know, the Plaza's
beautiful, yeah, elite
core. And he and his wife, at the time it was Ivana, and she would have fresh flowers flown in from Belgium on the front desk. You know, I mean, they really know how to run a house.
Right.
Trump knows how to live well.
Oh, yeah.
This is not someone, except I don't think he knows who should be delivering his Diet Cokes. You know, I mean, you should at least know the name of the guy that may poison you if you're a king. Anyway, beside the point.
Yeah.
I find humor in a lot of things. And they're not political. They're not because of Republican or Democrat.
The only way to make it through this is find humor.
Ridiculous. Yeah. So I was at the Plaza Hotel in the Oak Room, and I had someone I was wanting to show off, and, you know, they don't put the price on the menu. You know that? On the breakfast menu. Yeah. So that you order it, and you don't have to know if you got enough money for it or not.
Right.
So I didn't know what I was doing. I was kind of like lost in it.
Well, the message is, if you have to ask, you shouldn't be here, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. And the server asked me, what would you like, Mr. Reynolds? You know, they always know your name.
Right.
They don't know my name at Denny's. But I'm sitting there, what would you like, Mr. Reynolds? And I said, I don't know. And I said to my guest, what would you like? He says, well, I would like to have what Donald Trump had. And I said, well, don't be silly. He had 3 people like us for breakfast this morning. He doesn't eat food. He eats people. But I had oatmeal. And you know who else? The meal. You know where I got inspired? This is so many stories, but I think we're in I want to be America's favorite storyteller next to Mark Twain. Mm-hmm. He was so brilliant.
He was.
And he lived in Buffalo, too. And then he got out. That's why he
started the first newspaper. Yeah, he got out, but it always sucks you back in again.
Wonderful.
I'm living
so I was thinking about the oatmeal idea I got. You know what? You'll never know where I got it from until I tell you. Chuck Berry.
Really?
Yeah, because I was at the, it was called the Lucky Tiger, I think it is, hotel. Speaking of those tigers. And I had breakfast around, I walked over and introduced myself as a former disc jockey. He didn't know me at all.
Right.
And I said, what do you have in there? And he said, I have this every morning. I have the breakfast, I have the oatmeal, and I said, you don't eat grits? No, I have the oatmeal, and I have the heated milk. And a slab of butter. So I said, oh. So, you know, he was like in great shape doing the duck walk and all this stuff. So I haven't stopped. I still have the oatmeal. I still have it every day.
I had my overnight oats today.
So you got that too.
Oh, nice.
Well, you're a wonderful person. You have a great personality, and you know.
Thank you. You too. I just love you. I think the world of you. I think
thank you.
Everything you've done and the journey you've had, and that you always have your thumb on the pulse of everything going on. You're always current. You stay on top of everything, even doing the Zoom interviews now. I'm so blown away by you. You really are.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Kat. Amazing. So here's my favorite of all those speakers through the years, besides Love is Letting Go of Fear. That's Jerry Jampolsky. Yeah. It would be tough time never lasts, but tough people do.
That's a good one. I think I need that over my desk.
Oh, boy.
Inspire me in the days.
So we'll be watching your show. We're going to watch it. We're going to go to your website.
Oh,
Was
thank
it
you. No,
Passionate
we're
Living? Passionate Living?
Passionate Living, yeah.
.com or you
Yeah, .com.
dot organized or dot something or other?
.com.
It should be
.com.
dot paid.
I know. I'm going to be updating it this week before the show hits, and the show will hit in about 2 weeks. And I'm sharing Phil's slot. Phil's been doing his show at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. That's Phil Arno. Those were
Phil Arno, yeah. And I'm going to be doing mine on Tuesdays and Thursdays now at 8 p.m.
You fell out of an airplane almost.
Where does your show air?
Well, this thing is on a pod, and it's also on. I'm on all the platforms except the New York subway, but I'm on every platform.
Oh, good. I want to put that on my site. I would love to put that.
Even TikTok. But you can follow me on Facebook because that's where I have the most interest. I mean, that's the one because I started with it. But YouTube I like, and it's the late Joey Reynolds.
I love that. I love that you go by that. I think that is the best.
And then the Joey Reynolds rap is on YouTube, and my site is joeyreynolds.tv for the website. And I've done a lot of things in my life, and some of them have failed. That's how I learned. I learned by failing. I failed up.
Aren't they? Well, that's the way to learn. I remember talking to a friend of mine who was this huge real estate mogul. And I said, how did you know how to do this? He goes, I have failed so many more times than I've succeeded. I just never gave up. Most people give up after they fail. But he said, I just kept going. And that's where you learn the biggest lessons, when you fail. Yeah.
Well, maybe one day you and I will do a TED and Company talk. Maybe
I like that.
No one's ever done that. They never had two people do a TED talk.
Maybe we can do a Fred talk.
Yeah.
A Fred talk instead of a TED talk.
Screw TED.
Friends talking. A Fred talk instead of a TED talk. Friend. I like that. It just came to me.
All right. I guess we're done. We've had enough now. It's always wonderful to visit with you.
Oh, Joey, it's great. Let me know when you're coming. When are you going to come back visit Buffalo again? We all miss you.
When they put a plow on JetBlue's planes. No, when we were able to fly again. They're going to get rid of the middle seat, and hopefully, we have to distance ourselves right now. I don't believe in just the sterilization of the plane.
I was in California when this all hit, and Eli and Rosina were really nervous about me flying back, so I drove.
Flying back, yeah.
I drove 3 days, 3 hours across the country and came in early March. So, yeah, I was nervous about the planes too, but you've been flying.
Well, I have a weekly flight to New York that I scrapped a couple of months ago by accident. I don't know how. I was driven to not take it to Westchester, where I had my car. And I was going to fly into Westchester, which was the worst spot at the time, if you recall, a couple months ago. And I didn't go. I moved the flight to LaGuardia, and then I canceled it. So, but not because of this.
Yeah.
Something told me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, that's the part that's the finite. My finite thinking is hit a wall. Yeah. I don't know. I do know that I love you. You're great.
I love you too. I miss you.
We'll see you on the big screen, and we should do a talk together though.
I think I texted you last week. I want to have you on the show because you're so bright and fun, and that's exactly right now what I want the show to do, is to lift people. Because shows like this that you're doing right now, you always light people up. You lift them. And now more than ever, people need hope. They need to be lifted. People are reaching their breaking point with the stay-at-home order. I imploded on Wednesday. I had to have a mental health day. I just took the day off, and I went, I am losing it. Get out of here. I'm going crazy. But by Thursday, I was fine. I remembered to meditate and stretch, and I was back in the zone again. But yeah, this really helps people your sense of humor, your stories, and sharing. It's just so beautiful. It's what people need right now.
I believe in you. And thank you.
Thank you. You too. Thanks.
That would be now Cat Miller. And tough times never last, but Tough people. Ooh. Let a smile be your umbrella and don't get a mouthful of rain.
Love you.